what would you say if I asked you, how did you find your magic?
I had a meeting with my principal one time, and it was me interviewing her for the school magazine, and she asked me, what do I want to do? Where do I see myself? I said, I see myself being an international fashion designer. That was when I was 16, 17 years old. So it's amazing to see my journey so far.
Fashion is a universal language that connects us all. Today, I'm happy to be in conversation with a woman who is at the epicenter of fashion evolution and fashion innovation, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. She owns a platform called Fashion Evo. She's a brand strategist. She's a PR expert, and her name is Dr. Yetty Ogunnubi. Welcome to She Create.
Thank you for having me.
It's great for you to be here.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you about your journey in the creative space. And I'm interested to know what it's been like for you and maybe the key points in your journey that you can say, that has changed my life, that has cemented my place in the creative industry.
I would say, obviously, I wear so many hats at the moment as a PR consultant as well as founder for Fashion Evo. But my love for fashion is actually the starting point of my career. Over 20 years ago, I used to have a label in the UK, Yetty. That's where Yetty actually started.
That's where Yetty came from.
And the journey through that was more of, I come from an artistic background, meaning we love art. I was able to infuse art and fashion together. So it was more of streetwear. Is that a story in band that, and each of my collection had imprints of artistic expression, African expression.
Okay.
That really actually propelled me in the fashion space in the UK. I was able to also give platforms whilst I did my fashion side of things. I also had a yearly annual fashion show in the UK where I bring other African
Designers.
right, to showcase our collection for the year, really. So I did that consistency for 5 years before I moved back to Nigeria. So my journey through art and creative space is actually through fashion. And it's also almost like a 360 when about 4 years ago, we birthed Fashion Evo. Yes, I'm a fashion creator, but I also know the problems and challenges a lot of creative face as a business owner, as a creative myself, and now as a PR person. So it was in that space that Fashion Evo was.
Okay.
Right? So there's no way you talk about my journey and not talk about the artistic side because I come and I grew up knowing art. My parents are artists themselves. And then me being a fashion designer, then me becoming a PR person where I consult with fashion entrepreneurs and now creating a platform that can make, things easier for them, especially from the trade side of things.
That's interesting. So going through this journey, I would say, when did you, and this is an interesting question, but when did you know that the work that you were doing was bigger than you?
I would say that I didn't know I was preparing myself for the work I'm doing right now. That's because when I was doing my fashion design, I was everything for it for a long period of time. Meaning I was designer, I was the seamstress, I was the pattern cutter, I was a website designer, I was my marketing person. And that was because I had few challenges. I'm one of those people that I can't be held to ransom, right? When you get people to work on certain things and when
it doesn't come out the way that you expect it to come out.
As much as you want to, give that time, I'm also mindful that I don't have the luxury of time. In sense that if I'm working with a season, everything must flow with that theme. So if I have a website designer that I've contracted to do the site and it's taking him over a year to design one site, even though he's creative, I won't be held to ransom. So those little things that may not mean a lot to me then actually is something that has helped build and shape me for the bigger picture.
For the bigger picture.
Yes. So hence I'm able to talk from different points of view. I can see the different pinpoints that people are facing, challenges they're facing, and how we can solve them. Yes.
What would be your what would you say if I asked you, how did you find your magic?
How did I find my magic? I think I've always had a magic growing up. Yes. My career as an artist, even as a fashion designer, started when I was young. My mom had a sewing machine in the house. I'm talking about me being 10, 11, 12. And I would, all our cottons, I would use that to make either a bag, a rucksack. I still have a vivid memory and turning one of our flowery cotton into a rucksack. And moving from there, when everybody was doing 10 subjects in secondary school, because I come from a art background, and my principal really felt that I would do well in science, I was doing both science and art. So for me, around that time, I knew that I wanted to do something in fashion. And I wanted to do something on an international level. Because I had a meeting with my principal one time, and it was me interviewing her for the school magazine. And she asked me, what do I want to do? Where do I see myself? I said, I see myself being an international fashion designer. That was when I was 16, 17 years old. So it's amazing to see my journey so far. And then there is even the first collection for Fashionable actually came from a newspaper clipping of me in 1988, where the tagline was, "The future belongs to her." And it actually is like speaking to the future. And to see that me from a young age
You had a vision,
vision,
and you held on to it.
I held on to it some way, somehow. And I think it's also the fact that I'm passionate with what I do. And there's so much noise in the background right now by the makeup artist. Yes. So I'm quite passionate with whatever I put my mind into. I only work from a place of fashion. If it's not something I'm interested in, I'm definitely not going to put my energy into it. Fashion art is something that I know is my calling, something that comes seamlessly to me, even in terms of our PR side of things. One thing that we are known for is storytelling. From the creative point of view, from the visuals to the writing, I would say I've also more or less built my team in that arena where you have to think outside of the scope, outside of your environment. What do you see? What vision do you have? Yeah.
So I think that's magical in itself, because we talk about vision boards, we talk about visualizing, seeing what it is that you want to do, what you want to achieve, to believe that you can actually achieve that. You also mentioned about branding and what you do in the PR side of your business and storytelling. Now, creating narratives is powerful, but also shaping those narratives can be just as powerful, if not more powerful. For you, how does the two of them mix for you?
I think it's very important that when you have an idea, you also are able to drive the idea into the vision that you're creating in terms of the campaign. So having the idea is one thing. Then what is the implementation? How do you then make sure that this idea is brought to life and you're able to take the consumer and the public through, the ideology or the vision of the brand. Key element of the things that we do is everything's a process. I'm never for one to, go from A to Z. It's a driving, right? And what do we need to drive at the end result? There's a whole lot, that,
comes into play.
Yeah. This is where power of collaboration is, right? From working with the PR team to the digital team to coming up with ideas are something that is of importance for us. Collaboration is key, like I said. And it can't be one-sided. To shape a narrative requires strategy, of course, right? It's from the strategies, then you have a plan, then from plan to implementation. So it's always exciting, especially because we work with varied projects, from the creative to different industries, right? Shaping a narrative is more or less like, how do we want people
to feel? What do we want them to take away from it?
And the end result, literally. So it's always exciting to see the end result that, okay, people get it. We did a good job. But it requires a lot of team.
Yeah.
But different, even outside.
Sometimes trial and error.
Exactly. Trial and error. But yeah.
So you're in the business. You're in the business of shaping, creating narratives. You're in the business of art. You're in the business of media and visibility. Do you feel like creativity is sort of undervalued, or creativity in branding is undervalued? And the real question is, has it been reduced to aesthetics rather than deep connection?
I think over the years, things have changed. There's a shift in how narratives are being formed. Nowadays, people read lesser, right? I believe visuals are key. Deep visuals are key in terms of driving
The message.
the message. You would see people, you see them watching videos and consuming, those visuals or creatives that's being done rather than them reading. I, for one, for example, I read the first line, second line. If it doesn't make sense,
You move on.
But when you watch a video or an image that really captures your attention, you would want to keep watching it, and so long that is not too long. So I think things have changed, and I think it's for the better, because also it helps, in some way helps with the imagination and seeing the fruition of the idea. It's, how would I say? I'm hoping we can find a balance somehow, because before we tend to read and imagine, but now it's more like the imagination. You can see it. You can sort of not feel it, but you can.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's technology, there's AI, but there's still, I mean, you still have to have some level of imagination, because if you go into an AI tool, for instance, you've got to feed the tool with information, and it means that you have to have an idea of of the information that you're trying to create, or the visual that you're trying to create. So it's not completely lost, I think. I mean, there's always this conversation around whether AI is taking over human jobs and things like that. But speaking about AI, how do you think that the evolution of it translates in the fashion industry? And where do you see it leading the fashion industry to?
I think it's really helped in terms of technology. I've seen a few AI inspired fashion in the past.
I've seen an AI inspired fashion show.
Yeah, exactly. One of our friends, Slick, has this old man.
Yes.
It was, I think he started this maybe 2 years ago, and it was just so captivating that in a normal situation, that would be the least that you think old people being on a runway. And also then on the basis of that, I think in December there was an actual fashion show in Lagos that had some of the old generation walking down the runway. Something that it was last year, December. Of course, it was bred from AI, but it's now coming to the real life situation. So I think there's a synergy there. So long that we're able to have that human touch to it, yeah, why not? And even when you think about, there was also some African fashion inspired AI collection that I saw that, okay, I can actually make our show into this, grand outfit. Doesn't have to be Rambo, but all those things are like testing or testers.
Yeah.
To then, go and form a proper collection from it. Yeah.
I think it's exciting times. I think it's definitely exciting times. I want to ask you what would you want your legacy to be? That's kind of a left field question, but I think that's important.
Yeah. I think for me is the impact that I've made. I've always believed in longevity. I've always believed in creating an atmosphere that will live long after I do. Yeah. So impact. They would always remember the YD, the Yetty D for, the works, in terms of mentorship, in terms of driving a narrative, pushing the creative space.
Do you believe, and I'm sure you do because you are in the industry, but do you believe in the potential that the fashion industry has in Nigeria, and does it create room and space for younger people, for other people to come in and find a home for themselves?
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in that. I'm actually more in tune with the younger generation. I think they have amazing ideas. I think they need the support as well. The last 1 year, I've really worked with a lot of young creatives, and the ideas that come out of their head is just like boom. What I think they need is that support in terms of trade, in terms of pushing them on a more global scale. Yes, they are known within the region, they are known within their locals, but how do they make the foreign currency? What's the sustainability goals for them? It's actually helping and assisting them in terms of pushing them, to a wider audience.
No, I mean, I hear you on that. I feel like there is a need within whatever industry that we're in, within whatever space in the creative industry. People want to blow.
Yeah.
And we get that. We get the need to blow because it's about survival at this point. But I think the longevity part of it is, how do you go beyond blowing to becoming a sustainable, profitable business entity, personality, whatever it is? What is your long-term goal? What is the end goal for you at this point?
Yeah.
And I think platforms like Fashion Evo are so important because it's a connection point for them.
Yeah.
It's a connection point between, yes, I know how to sew, but do you know how to sew for a larger audience? Do you know how to innovate for a wider audience? Can you go from I'm a fashion designer in Nigeria to being I'm an international fashion designer that goes around the world and shows my collection to important people, or to a wider audience? And I think that that's the thing that is really going to cement their place in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Well, Yetty, thank you so much for conversing with me. Nigerians are conversating.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for conversing with me, Anisha. It's exciting to hear, I think firsthand what your goal is and what your vision is. And I think it's also exciting to connect the dots from where you started from, how you saw yourself, to what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that is the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Honestly, thank you for having me. I mean, these are the conversations we should be having.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that, the younger people, the younger creatives, will be able to see this, be inspired, also see how we can collaborate and, take them to the next level.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. We're talking about fashion, the evolution of it. We're talking about authenticity, also talking about being true to yourself and finding spots to connect, collaborate, to lead, to inspire. And that's exactly what Yetty is doing in the businesses that she's curating around the world. This is She Creates in Conversation with Yetty Ogunnubi.